What up, dudes? I am Moon. I play bass in Story of the Year, although I played guitar for, I don't know, 13 years in Story of the Year. And then our bass player decided to not be a bass player any longer. And we said, hey, I said I can do that, but let's add a string. So I played Paul Reed Smith in Story of the Year for the entire time that I played guitar. Still love my Paul Reed Smiths. But played Ernie Ball strings for the majority of my professional career. And I had been playing for a number of years in Goldfinger as well. And in Goldfinger I was playing Ernie Ball guitars. They had made me some Armadas, and I played a Reflex here and there for Goldfinger. So I had such a great relationship with both companies, but when I went over to bass with Story of the Year, it kind of made sense to go with Ernie Ball. Because Adam, our previous bass player, was already using Ernie Ball basses, had done the full switch. And again, like PRS and Ernie Ball are two of the greatest companies to ever work with. They're just good people and they make fantastic products. So I started playing an Ernie Ball Stingray. This is a Stingray 5. Long story short, I know there's a lot of details here, but before I was officially playing guitar for Goldfinger, I had played a few shows on bass for Goldfinger as well. For them, I used a Sterling, so I have a couple Sterlings. I had kind of gone back and forth between a Sterling and a Stingray. When it was time to have a bass made for this band, they actually made me twins. They made me this baby blue Stingray 5 with a rosewood board and a baby blue Armada with a rosewood board guitar for Goldfinger. They're twins, a little different body shape. I don't know if you're familiar with the Armada, but it is one of the greatest guitars out there right now. It's so very consistent, just like the basses, super consistent. They basically come off the wall ready to go, which is unheard of. And I fell in love with them. I needed a 5-string because when I started writing and tracking for 2 records ago with Story of the Year, I just found myself wanting a little bit more and a little bit more variety and kind of the ability to move a bit and to actually kind of present some bigger dynamics, mostly because we lost the dynamic of a 5-piece. So instead of having 2 guitars filling that kind of space, I've always been a big fan of bass players that filled space in a quality, classy, not look at me sort of way. Very Sting, Police. I know we don't sound anything like the Police, but that style bass playing where it's not always in your face and it's not always following guitar licks. You know what I'm saying? So this sucker does it for me. I tracked everything with this bass. The new record was tracked with this bass and just another Stingray 5 that came before I actually got this one. But it's the same basic setup, just a different color. It's not as cool looking. So my new setup, and I've gone through a few. I was doing some lighter strings on the Sterling that I was playing, but currently this is what I'm rocking. This is what I rocked on the record. Ernie Ball regular Slinky, the bass 5, 45 to 130, which is pretty much the standard. When I use the 4-string, I have a 105 on the E, but I like the 100 on the E for this, just because I don't need it to be as heavy and all that, especially as much as I'm using the B string. So that's my jam, and I think I'm sticking to it. It's these particular gauges and this setup for me works well, jumping back and forth between fingers and pick. The majority of the first Story of the Year records were done with the pick, so they're serviced better live with the pick, even though that's kind of not my preference. And a lot of the new stuff is in standard and then half step down rather than dropped. So we went from dropped and picking sort of bass style to standard, half step down, and fingers. And with this gauge and with this bass, I feel like I can kind of jump back and forth on stage and nobody's really hearing like a glaring difference, and there's no sound guys yelling at me, so that does make a difference to me. I don't like to be yelled at. For the most part, all these knobs, guys, they're just volume and tone. It's just rolling up and down the highs, lows, and mids. And then obviously it's this pickup is where it is, and the way that I play, I have everything hot. I have it down in the bridge position instead of the neck position. On occasion, on a record or something, I'll throw it up. This has the 3 selector. I think there's a couple with the 5 selector, but all that's doing is changing what the pickup is actually pulling. Kind of changes your sound depending on if you're picking real, low down here or if you're fingering around. For me, I have everything hot. I have all my tones up. Volume's always up. I do use the volume a little bit to roll back some of the clickiness or something. If there's something that I'm trying to kind of stay softer in and let the guitar sort of wail and do its thing, I'll just roll down the volume a little bit. For guitar, I do use an Ernie Ball volume pedal, which not only shaves the volume but shaves the gain. I use that primarily in Goldfinger, especially when you're flying out and you're using different amps and foot switches are never working and that kind of thing. My volume pedal is a lifesaver. But I keep it simple, man. Like, I used to get real involved and care about every little nuance and this and that and believe that this made a difference. And although I still believe that a lot of things do make a difference, in rock and roll, I have found that myself, I'm much happier when I minimalize. So I have minimalized every rig that I have to be as simple and powerful and punchy as it can be. Yeah, so right now, my bass rig, honestly, my favorite bass rig, the one that I have at home, is an old school Ampeg rocket bass, which is just a single 15. It's a 115 speaker. We actually tracked a couple records. I want to say in the wake of the termination, On was pretty much tracked with a rocket bass at some point. So that's my trusty rig. Funny enough, the show that we're playing tonight, I'm actually borrowing a rig from a good friend's band, and that exact rig just happens to be our old bass player. So it worked out that, you know, it's the old GK rig that we had. Right now, I'm actually kind of, I don't have a bass rig deal, but I'm talking to a company that hasn't released their bass rig. So I can't technically say it because they haven't announced that they have even made it. But it's very cool. It's gonna do the job that I need. I just need something punchy. It's deep. It's round that I can adjust a little bit. Like I said, I like to keep things pretty simple. Now with pedals, for the most part with bass, I use a bass wah. It's the white wah pedal. It's spring loaded and it services a part or two. Other than that, I keep it simple. On occasion, I'll have like an overdrive pedal or a Sans amp or something, but again, a lot of times I can get away without using those. On my guitar rig with Goldfinger and some of my other bands, I use a little bit more. I still use the bass wah actually in the way that I have my Armada set up. The bass wah actually just works fine. I don't need the range that some of the other wah pedals provide. And I have a Electro Harmonix Pog pedal, which is like an octave pedal. And a tuner, and what else do I use? On occasion, some sort of like tube screamer or something, but I've even gotten away from those. I like to keep it simple. What else do I use? There's something else. I just can't think of it. It must not be important. I must not use it that often. All right, man, we are busy. You can hear all sorts of things that I've been up to, even as of late. The new Story of the Year record called Wolves is out. It's on Spotify, it's on iTunes, it's in your grandma's favorite CD store. It's wherever you want to find music. It is there. That's brand new. Goldfinger, my other band, one of my other bands actually just put a record out. Travis Barker did all the drums. Mike Herrera from MXPX is playing the bass. And of course, John Feldman of Goldfinger fame and a lot of other things. That record came out in July. And then our other band, Greek Fire, has a record that is in the bag, it's in the can, it's ready to go, and it most likely will come out at some point this year. So busy, 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 busy. Wolves, Story of the Year. Greek Fire, new record, check out the old records if you wish, and Goldfinger's new record, The Knife. You can check out all those anywhere and everywhere. Thumbs up.